Rasheeda had barely finished stacking the last of the moving boxes in her new space when the universe reminded her that peace, in her world, was never permanent. She had spent weeks detoxing from noise-muted notifications, silenced group chats, hours spent relearning the sound of her own breathing at night without the weight of a man who only played the role of a husband when cameras were watching. She was in the fragile space between healing and moving on, where every step feels like a small victory. But that victory didn't last, because somewhere in another corner of Atlanta, Tasha K was sitting in front of her camera with a glass of red wine, a look that meant trouble, and a headline ready to detonate the internet. When she leaned forward and said, "Jasmine had another baby. And it's Kirk's again," the world tilted. There was no slow build-up. No teaser, just an explosion that sent shockwaves from Instagram timelines to VH1 production offices. She didn't blink, didn't fumble for words. She was poised, as if she had been waiting months to drop this. No elaborate set design, just a mic, a bottle, and a tone that dared anyone to challenge her. "Let's get right to it," she continued, "because these receipts, they're still hot. Remember Jasmine, the one who had Kirk's baby seasons ago? Well, guess what, she's back. And so is the storyline. Only this time, it's not scripted for TV. It's stamped in hospital records, confirmed by DNA, and whispered by one of Kirk's own people. And here's the kicker, this happened after Rasheeda filed for divorce. And now they're trying to erase it like this baby never existed." The comments didn't just trickle in, they flooded. The live chat was a hurricane of disbelief, validation, and insults. Some called it clout chasing. Others said it fit Kirk's history perfectly. But the moment Tasha dropped the name of the hospital Northside Women's Pavilion in Atlanta, the conversation shifted from gossip to Tanti. She held up a blurred-out birth certificate for the camera. No father's name listed. Just, baby girl, born 3 months earlier. The mother's name was right there, in black ink, Jasmine Washington. The silence from Kirk's camp was deafening. Then came the audio. Tasha pressed play on a shaky voice memo, the kind you record when your nerves make your breath unsteady. A woman whispered to someone named Keisha, "I wasn't gonna say anything, not after what happened the first time, but this one's different. Kirk been in and out, but he told me he'd handle it. Said not to post the baby, not to tell Rasheeda, said he'd take care of us. But I know how that story ends. I've already lived it once." The screen faded to black for a beat before Tasha's face returned, a sly smile forming. "This isn't a season finale twist. This is real life. And guess what? I've got more. Y'all ready for the footage?" In another part of the city, Rasheeda sat in her living room beside Miss Charlene. The live stream pulled up on her TV but muted. Her face didn't twitch, her posture didn't shift, but her eyes sharpened like glass under pressure. It was Miss Charlene who broke first, shaking her head. "I told you, that man ain't got an off switch." Rasheeda finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "He swore he was done with her." Miss Charlene didn't hesitate. "And you swore you believed him. That's the problem." Meanwhile, Jasmine had gone silent. No posts, no stories. Her Instagram blacked out 3 days earlier like she knew a storm was coming. But Tasha wasn't anywhere near finished. She pulled up Cash App screenshots, each payment traced back to KLF Management LLC, the same shady shell company Kirk once used to funnel money to another woman, Maya, during a past scandal. The numbers told their own story: $850 here, $950 there, $1,100 at one point. The payment notes were coded but chilling. For groceries, keep your peace, and the most telling, silent love. The mess had outgrown VH1's control. Producers were scrambling, caught off guard by a scandal they hadn't orchestrated. One they couldn't slap a reunion special on to resolve. A junior editor, desperate for the inside scoop, leaked that Jasmine had been approached weeks earlier for a return arc but turned it down, claiming she was tired of being cast as the villain. That claim collapsed when Tasha threw up a still frame from a security camera, grainy shot of Kirk and Jasmine together at a private medical clinic. Just 2 weeks before the baby's due date, she was in oversized sweats, he was in a hoodie, and sunglasses, both wearing the expression of people who didn't want to be recognized. The internet had the image reposted across every blog within hours. The caption reading like a cruel joke, "Love and Hip Hop, the sequel." But Rasheeda didn't post a response. She didn't tweet a cryptic line or cry on camera. Instead, she walked into her office, pulled out a thick folder marked Divorce Phase 2, and slid it across to her attorney the next morning with 3 words. Activate everything now. Inside were documents for freezing assets, enforcing child support, and filing media injunctions. That night, Maya, the mother of Zayden, Kirk's other child, went live from her couch, hair wrapped, eyes exhausted. I wasn't gonna speak again, she admitted, but when I saw Jasmine's name trending, I knew it wasn't over. These men, they don't stop. They rotate, they lie. But this one's on her too. She judged me, made me feel like I was the mistake. And now she's pregnant again. Hiding it, the internet split right down the middle. Some applauded Maya for speaking her truth. Others accused her of chasing the same attention she criticized. But the narrative had momentum now, and Tasha wasn't letting it die. At midnight, she dropped another audio leak. Kirk's voice, unmistakable even through the muffled recording, telling someone likely Jasmine to stop stressing, promising to handle it like I handled the first one, and ending with, I'll send something tomorrow. It was a pattern too familiar to ignore. Another child, another cash payoff, another layer of deception. This time, however, Rasheeda had her own ammunition, and she was done being quiet. At sunrise, she posted a single photo, a legal motion, stamped and signed, adding concealed offspring, paternity pending to her divorce proceedings. No caption, just a new hashtag. Hashtag more than Afro Safe. The internet erupted again. And Jasmine finally broke her silence knot with an interview, but with a photo of a tiny baby hand wrapped around a gold chain. The caption was a jab meant to sting. Don't worry about who her daddy is. Just know she'll never need him. But what she didn't know was that Tasha K had already queued up her next blow. The footage that detonated next came from a phone camera, shaky, grainy. The kind you film in secret, because you know what you're catching could start a fire. Pink and gold balloons floated in the background. A cheap Welcome Baby J banner hung unevenly on the wall. The voice behind the camera whispered, "Girl, is that who I think it is?" The lens zoomed, and there he was, Kirk, leaning in close to Jasmine, toasting her with a plastic cup. A smile that looked more like a confession than celebration. No VH1 crew, no staged lighting, no Rasheeda, no Maya, just an intimate baby shower meant to stay buried until Tasha K got her hands on it. The clip hit social media before noon, dropped into Tasha's live like a grenade. While Rasheeda was at home signing court papers, she said, "This man was out here clinking glasses at the baby shower for the child he swore didn't exist." She didn't even have to narrate the rest. The comments spiraled instantly. This man got no shame. Didn't she say she was done with him? This is a sequel to a lie. Rasheeda didn't hear about it from a blog or her lawyer. She saw it when her young son ran into the kitchen holding an iPad. Confusion on his face. "Mom, isn't this Dad?" The clip played, and she didn't even breathe for the first 5 seconds. Then she told him, steady but firm, "Turn it off. I need to make a call." Somewhere across the city, VH1 executives were scrambling, caught between legal restrictions and the knowledge that this scandal was ratings gold. Jasmine was still under contract from a previous season, which meant the network had the right to feature her if she agreed. But they had no signed medical releases, no DNA proof, and no paternity confirmation. Without those, they couldn't touch the baby storyline legally unless Jasmine or Kirk went public. For now, both were in hiding, or so they thought, because Maya, the woman who had stayed silent for months, decided she'd had enough. She went live, not yelling, not crying, just sitting in her living room with a stack of printed screenshots beside her. "The only reason I bit my tongue," she began, "was for my son. But when I saw Jasmine cashing in through the same hush money pipeline I got trapped in, I realized this wasn't about protecting children, it was about protecting a man's image." Then she dropped the receipts. Text exchanges between her and Jasmine months before the new baby was born. Messages where Jasmine asked how to survive the backlash and whether Rasheeda should know. Maya's reply had been blunt. She probably already does. But telling her isn't the hard part. Living with what comes after that's the real storm. The screenshots painted Jasmine not as a victim, but as someone walking willingly into the same trap she once claimed she'd escaped. By evening, Tasha dropped yet another bomb. She had found proof that Kirk wasn't just sending Jasmine quiet payments through his LLC, he had been paying her rent. The lease for her apartment listed KLF Consulting as the guarantor, complete with utility bills tied to the same account. It was the same setup he'd used with Maya, recycled like a bad plotline. That's when Miss Charlene, who rarely stepped into the public mess, went live for the first time. No filters, No PR polish, just the raw fury of a mother who'd watched her daughter's loyalty be weaponized against her. "I've held my tongue for too long," she said, eyes locked on the camera. "I watched my daughter shred herself into pieces trying to hold that family together. And now I find out he was building a whole other family on the side. No, not again. Jasmine, you're no victim, you volunteered. And Kirk, you're a predator with a paper trail." The multiplied like wildfire. Hashtag Frost Files. Hashtag Kirk knew. Hashtag Jasmine knew too. Hashtag Protect Rasheeda. And then, as if the scandal needed another accelerant, a man no one expected stepped into the spotlight, Jasmine's ex. He went live on Facebook, his hand shaking as he held the phone, his voice breaking more than once. "I raised that boy, like he was mine," he said, referring to Jasmine's first child. "Even after I found out he wasn't. I thought Jasmine had changed. I thought we were building something real. But when I saw that baby, I knew it wasn't mine. I left before she could say a word." He then posted side-by-side photos. The new baby next to a baby picture of Kirk. The resemblance wasn't subtle, it was damning. The same cheeks, the same eyes, the same smirk that had been haunting the Frost brand for years. That same day, Rasheeda's lawyer filed for an emergency audit of every shared business account, demanding a full year's worth of financial activity. This was no longer just a divorce, it was a forensic investigation into a pattern of deception, quiet payoffs, and backdoor deals inked without her knowledge. The blogs were still dissecting the baby shower footage when Tasha K closed out her latest live with a chilling tease. "Y'all think it ends here? Nah, another woman's already messaged me. She's not ready to talk yet, but when she does, Kirk's not just gonna look messy, he's gonna look criminal." The city didn't sleep that night. Blogs refreshed every few minutes, podcasts scrambled to record emergency episodes, and VH1 boardrooms turned into war rooms. While the internet churned, Jasmine dropped a blurry Instagram story, a crib, a pink blanket, and a close-up of a tiny bracelet engraved with the name Kennedy. It wasn't confirmation, but it was enough to keep her name in every headline. The world didn't have to wait for a reunion special to see how this would play out. Real life was giving them a better show, and for Rasheeda, the war was only beginning. The courthouse felt heavier than Rasheeda expected, like the air itself had weight. It wasn't the weather, it was the energy. The hallways buzzed with whispers from bloggers clutching notepads, the low hum of camera crews pretending not to record, and the tension of people who knew they were about to watch a public marriage end in a way even reality TV couldn't script. This wasn't just a divorce hearing, it was a custody fight, a financial investigation, a brand protection battle, and a reckoning years in the making. Rasheeda moved through the crowd with her attorney on one side and Miss Charlene on the other. Her red suit crisp, her face unreadable, she didn't glance at the cameras. She didn't wave. She was here for business, not optics. Inside, Kirk sat at the defendant's table, alone. No lawyer in sight. He'd decided to represent himself, a choice that already read like desperation. His once polished image was in ruins, hair unkempt, suit wrinkled, eyes darting as if searching for a lifeline in a room full of people rooting for his downfall. Every secret payout, every fake LLC, every blurry photo, every whispered voicemail, they'd all piled up. And now he was sitting in the rubble. Jasmine wasn't even in the building. Her lawyer had filed a statement citing emotional distress and harassment by the media, but everyone knew she was in hiding. Not just from the press, from the reality of what she'd helped create. While Rasheeda waited for the judge to enter, her phone buzzed twice. She didn't check it, but Miss Charlene did. Her eyes widened slightly. It was Tasha K, already live. On the courthouse steps, phone in hand. She was introducing her latest upload. The pattern, Kirk Frost, Jasmine, and the women left behind. Inside the video, Tasha didn't just recycle old receipts. She introduced two new voices. The first was a former Frost Bistro employee, who claimed Kirk had offered her off-the-books bonuses in exchange for not mentioning late-night visits from Jasmine to the restaurant's private dining area. The second was a hairstylist who'd been close to Jasmine for years. Her confession was blunt. She told me she was on birth control, said she was done with him. Then she came into my chair crying, saying she was late. And I knew. We both knew. Tasha played another voicemail, one allegedly recorded just days after the VH1 reunion meltdown. Kirk's voice, low and urgent. "You gotta delete those texts. Jazz, please. They can't get their hands on them. I'm serious. I'll fix it." Just trust me. The desperation in his tone wasn't just audible, it was humiliating. By the time the clip ended, chat rooms were exploding. The hashtags turned into full-blown movements. Hashtag justice for Rasheeda. Hashtag cut the frost. Hashtag legacy not lies. And while that storm brewed outside, the judge finally entered. When it was Rasheeda's turn to speak, she didn't raise her voice. She didn't cry. She stood at the podium, read her prepared statement with precision, and made every word land like a gavel. This is not about revenge, she began. This is about liberation. I built with that man. I forgave him for things I should have walked away from. I carried our family's name through years of storms. And now, I refuse to let my work, my brand, my children's stability be tied to a legacy that was never built on truth. I am seeking sole custody of our minor children, full control over all shared assets, and legal protections for my name and likeness. Because I am not just ending a marriage, I am ending the cycle that kept me small. Kirk didn't object. He couldn't. The paper trail was undeniable, and even he knew fighting it would only make him look worse. When the judge ruled, it was swift and final. Rasheeda was granted full ownership of Frost Bistro, sole rights to every trademark tied to her brand, primary custody, and a court-ordered gag clause forbidding Kirk from using her name for any business gain. The courtroom didn't cheer, but outside, the internet did. Within minutes, headlines blared. Rasheeda wins everything, Kirk loses it all in final divorce ruling. But the day had one more twist. An unreleased VH1 confession cam clip surfaced online. No one claimed credit for the leak, but it spread like wildfire. In the video, Jasmine sat in full glam, pregnant, eyes wet with tears. She whispered, "I thought if I had another baby with him, it would make things right." But it didn't. It just made everything worse. It wasn't a plea for was an accidental confession, one that validated everything Rasheeda and Tasha had been saying. That night, Miss Charlene went live from the grand reopening of Frost Bistro. Now rebranded as Unbreakable ATL. The walls were repainted, the menu redesigned, every photo of Kirk stripped from the building. In their place, hung a mural of powerful black women in tailored suits. Above them the words, "Never again will I shrink myself for a man who cannot grow." Rasheeda, standing beside her mother, addressed the crowd and the cameras with just one line, "This isn't a comeback, this is a continuation. I'm still standing stronger than before." Meanwhile, Tasha teased her next investigation VH1 production contracts, and how certain cast members were allegedly told to hold back information for dramatic season finales. "If y'all thought the Frost mess was the end," she smirked, "you ain't seen nothing yet. Everyone's getting exposed." Jasmine deactivated her Instagram the next morning. Friends whispered she'd left Atlanta, maybe staying with family, maybe hiding from the backlash. Kirk, on the other hand, posted a black screen with white text. "Some losses are permanent. Some pain you earn." The comments scorched him too. "Late, you lost the only woman who ever loved you. Should have kept it in your pants." But Rasheeda stayed silent, letting her work speak. 1 week later, she posted her first photo since the court win. Herself, Maya, little Kennedy, and Zayden all together at a charity event for single mothers. No caption, no hashtags, just an image that said everything it needed to. She hadn't just walked away from Kirk, she'd walked toward something bigger. A legacy not built on lies, but on truth. And in the world of love and hip-hop, that wasn't the kind of storyline you filmed. 4 ratings. That was the kind you earned.